Welcome. Bonus episode number 9. Pulling solo duty today. Nick has come down with a cold. So we are pushing back our Goodfellas Mafia May is going to be starting next week. Even prior to that, we're going to have The Last of Us episodes 3 and 4 coverage coming out before that. So we'll hit that probably sometime this weekend that'll release. Goodfellas will be coming to your feed next Thursday. And that will be followed up with Casino after that. So hope Nick feels better, but we're doing a bonus pod here. I got some questions for a mailbag that I'm going to run through pretty quickly. And yeah, we'll see what happens. If you're new to the show, we're Read, Watch, Play. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. Follow, subscribe. The most important thing you can do, throw us 5 stars, tell your friends about it. People finding the show is the most helpful thing. You can follow us on Instagram at Read, Watch, Play Podcast, or you can email us at readwatchplaypod@gmail.com. A lot of these questions came in from Discord. So if you're on Discord, you can search our show notes and you can jump into our Discord and chat with some people there, and including me. But we're going to get underway because I got a lot of questions to run through. So we're going to get started here. And the first one comes in from Big Kid 782 saying you have 1 year to either play, read, watch only one item. You will not be allowed any other form of entertainment for that year. What do you choose? I interpreted this question in 2 ways. The first is that I can only read books for a year, watch movies for a year, or play games for a year. The logical part of me, and the part that has some shame, feels like I should choose reading. I should choose books, right? That's the responsible thing to do. But I got to go with movies. I just don't think I could not watch a movie. Like, I don't think I could go a year without watching a movie. It's never going to happen. Never going to happen. It's also a big shared hobby with my fiance and I. We love a date night at the movies. I love popcorn. I love getting out there. I love being in the theater. So I just can't imagine not watching a movie for a year. So I know I should say reading. I'm probably going to go movies. Gaming would be a really good one. The issue is that it's just got to happen at home. I can do movies at the theater, which is nice. I mean, I guess I could handheld game, but I'm not a huge handheld gamer. I don't have good enough eyes to see that small screen. So that's not for me. The other way I interpreted your question was I could only consume one specific piece of media for a year. Like, I just had to keep running it back. And if that was your intention, I think I got to go with a video game because there's so much more replay value there than a book or a movie, just running that all year long. Part of me wants to say Mass Effect, the Legendary Edition, because I just completed that, and all I want to do in my life is just play that again and experience it over and over and over. But I think I'm going to have to go with the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster collection because I've just started that, and I love the idea of dedicating a whole year to just getting caught up on all the old Final Fantasies, which I've never played in my life. So that sounds really appealing. So I can get to some of the big heavy hitters that came out, and I can know what all the jazz is about Final Fantasy VII. I've never been a part of that world, so I'd like to do that. Thanks, Big Kid 782, for the question. Next one. Let me pull this up here. I got to get a better way to look through these. As you can tell, I'm going to be shooting from the hip. Super Dave, host of the newly launched, kind of a comeback, the Anime Field Guide podcast. Super Dave is a real good guy. He said, I feel this is always relevant. Your tips to avoid content burnout when everything and everyone is always talking about the latest and greatest thing. This is a great question. I mean, man, since the start of the streaming wars during COVID, we are just inundated with content these days. Growing up, it was like you got a couple games a year that your parents would buy you. DVDs are still pretty pricey, so you kind of just rocked the DVDs and the VHSs you had. Books, I don't know, you got one from the library, you forgot to return it, probably paying some fees. So we just didn't have the type of content growing up that we have I couldn't imagine being a kid today. It'd be so overwhelming. But honestly, I'll be straight up, Super Dave. I feel zero pressure to keep up with things outside of movies. New releases, I do feel a lot of there's always things I'm interested in seeing, and I will take a flyer on any movie. Someone could be like, this is a movie about a refrigerator who thinks he's a toaster and, is going to outer space. I'd be like, I'm in. That sounds like the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. I feel that way with movies. I'm a little more picky and choosy when it comes to my reading and my gaming and my TV shows. but I just don't really feel a lot of pressure to keep up. I'll be honest. My simple answer is honest. I mean, obviously, realize as much as I want to, as much as I wish I could experience everything, I just can't read, watch, or play everything in my lifetime. It's just never going to happen. A more practical answer is I stay pretty focused. I only read one book at a time. I mean, obviously I'm only watching one movie at a time. I don't know who's dual screening movies, but maybe TV shows. Like I'm not really watching multiple shows at once outside of when things are on a sort of a weekly or monthly release, I'll watch, Andor when it drops, every week or something like that. We're also watching The Last of Us. So, but I'm typically not like in terms of streaming shows, watching multiple at once. I never read more than one book at a time. I'm never playing more than one game at a time. And I feel like that's helpful. And I think a big thing too is I always know what I'm going to next. And yeah, I'll have some spontaneity in my life, but I typically know what game I want to play next, what book I want to go to. So there's not that downtime and that frazzled decision fatigue that you can get where you fire up PlayStation Plus or you look at the games you have or you look at the books you have and you're like, oh, what do I want to do next? I try and know what I'm going to. And I feel too many times like people feel frazzled by keeping up to date by like trying to like play so many things at once or watch so many shows at once or I don't know. I'm not a great multitasker in anything in life. So I stay pretty focused in my content consumption. I always know what's coming next. And I just try not to care, man. Like, I love some of the MCU stuff, but I just can't keep up with every show. Like, it's just not going to happen. There's no way. And I'm not going to stress about it. It is what it is. But when you're in the content business, like you are, Super Dave too, it's hard. Like Nick and I, we try and talk about what are the relevant things each year we want to cover, but we don't feel a ton of pressure to cover everything that is an adaptation because there's always adaptations being made. And also we want this podcast to be a little bit of, a bit of a trip down memory lane occasionally with some big older titles that we all know and love. I feel like those are always my favorite episodes, even though I do love covering a modern one. I love going back to the things of our childhood and covering them that everyone has a relationship to. So I don't know if that helps, Super Dave. It's tough. I mean, there's a lot out there. I just realized can't do it all. I'm going to put my blinders on when I'm playing something, when I'm watching something, when I'm reading something. I'm going to focus only on that and invest fully in that. Like, just not a half-asser, a whole-asser. Thanks for writing in, Super Dave. The Pinoy Wonder. I hope I'm saying that right. He gave the question that I dream about. What is an underrated movie you would recommend from every decade? Gonna have to clear the floor on this one. Oh, man, holy shit, what a deep question. This is stuff I just like sitting in a bar drinking, having a beer with somebody and just talking about this. I could do this for hours and hours and hours. I'm going to broaden this because underrated is such a tricky concept. It's like the true definition is that I'm rating this higher than I think it is rated. I'm not going to give always movies that follow that criteria. I'm going to try and give some things that I feel are overlooked, maybe underappreciated. Maybe if you like movies, you should check these out, especially for some of the older titles. These are not, poorly rated movies that I'm saying that I find underrated by any stretch. I'm just saying your average person is probably not going back to the well of the 1960s filmography and watching movies from there. But I'm going to give you, a title or two to maybe check out. If you like movies now, that maybe you return to. So I'm going to keep it pretty broad. As we get more modern, I'll probably give a little bit more of a true what I feel are some underrated titles. Or just underrated maybe in terms of a director's filmography. So that's how we're going to tackle this. All right, you did this, the Pinoy Wonder. You did this with the 1950s. I only give a couple for these older ones. One, I'm just not as, I've watched way more 80s movies than I have movies from the 50s. So I'm just going to give a couple shout outs here. First, The Wages of Fear. This is going to come back later and is the reason I'm recommending it. But this is a great movie about a rundown South American town where 4 men are paid to drive trucks loaded with nitroglycerin into the jungle through the jungle to an oil field. Obviously, there's an intensity to this trip, as at any moment, any bump could make the nitroglycerin explode, killing them all. So kind of, yeah, these friendships are tested, rivalries developed over this perilous journey. It's an awesome movie. It's really, really fun to go back and watch this one. And it might not be the first movie from the 50s somebody might recommend. So I wanted to put that out there and just keep that one in mind because I'm going to be coming back to it in a way. 60s. I'm breaking the rule. This is not underrated by any stretch. This is one of the most highly rated, acclaimed movies of all time. But it's 60 years old. It's by a foreign filmmaker. I got to go High and Low by Akira Kurosawa. And if you are a film connoisseur, calling this underrated is blasphemous, as it's a properly rated masterpiece. But I bring this up because it's a little bit timely if you haven't seen it. Because this year, Spike Lee is doing a remake starring Denzel Washington of this highly, highly acclaimed film. And if you like movies, but you stay pretty domestic or you stay English, kind of in your filmography, I mean, Akira Kurosawa is stop number one in terms of getting into foreign film or Japanese film. Absolutely recommend checking this one out. It is, brief synopsis is, in the midst of an attempt to take over his company, a powerhouse executive is hit with a huge ransom demand when his chauffeur's son is kidnapped by mistake. Just awesome. Check it out. I'd love to hear what anybody thinks of it. And I'm really excited to see the remake this year, which 100% going to be covering on the show. Two other 60s movies I want to shout out. Again, another foreign one, French film by legend Jean-Pierre Melville, Le Samurai. And this it kind of looks like, if you're trying to take this title and, spell it, it looks like Le, Samurai is kind of how it's spelled. This movie is just cool. I mean, outside of James Bond, I don't know if I've ever seen a character that has more swag than Jeff Costello does in this movie. I mean, it is wearing slick suits, smoking cigarettes, drinking bourbon. I mean, this movie holds up just so well. And if you like kind of that neo-noir crime type of thriller, this is a must watch. Jeff Costello, the main character, is a hitman who is trying to find out who hired him for a job and then tried to have him killed. And also about the local Parisian police trying to catch him. So all these forces are kind of intertwining between the hitman, the people who hired him to take someone out, the police trying to figure out what the heck is going on involved with both of them. It is the cat and mouse dynamic to the nth degree. And man, you just watch this and you're like, I'll never be this cool in my life when you see Jeff Costello. Another one I want to give, this is, again, not underrated by any means from the 1960s, but maybe in terms of this director, often overlooked. And that is Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. 1964, political satire, kind of a dark comedy that was written, produced, and directed by Kubrick, loosely based on a novel called Red Alert by Peter George, who wrote the screenplay with him. And starring Peter Sellers, a big deal at the time. It parodies really the Cold War fears of nuclear war and, the pushing of the button to incite nuclear destruction and devastation. And it's centered around what's going on at this remote base and what's going on in this war room, and the U.S. trying to stop this crew from bombing the Soviet Union and starting sort of nuclear meltdown. It's so funny. I mean, again, this isn't underrated. I mean, this is like, I think on American Film Institute, this is ranked as like the 26th highest, greatest movie of all time. But I think in terms of Kubrick, like, I don't know if this is your first go-to, like if you're getting into him. I mean, I think people are talking about The Shining, and they're talking about A Clockwork Orange and 2001: A Space Odyssey, or maybe more modern, An Eyes Wide Shut. And this movie is timeless and it's hilarious. And I don't know if it can ever be done like this again. And I say that as I have a movie later on that is a little bit in the lineage of this that I found absolutely hilarious as well. So I just lied to all of you on that one. But Dr. Strangelove, got to check it out. All right. We're going to move on to the 70s here. I said The Wages of Fear would be coming back into play. And that is because I want to talk about 1977's Sorcerer, directed by William Friedkin. You all know him as the director of The Exorcist. And this is a remake of The Wages of Fear that I saw this before The Wages of Fear, and I didn't know it was based on this until after. But this movie, it's just gripping. I mean, similar to the first one, the concept is just gripping. And you can just tell from the narrative of trying to transport this explosive dynamite on bumpy back roads in a jungle is just going to elevate. You just can feel the tension that that's going to bring in a movie. And I think it's just played out so well. It's a really fun concept. And this was a little bit overshadowed. And I say it's underrated because it, again, in terms of his filmography, Friedkin, it's not your first choice. And two, 1977, this came out during Star Wars. And every single movie was overshadowed that year. It's kind of like the year the Titanic came out. So I think this is an awesome movie to go back to if you want to start checking out the 70s, maybe the best decade of film ever. Next, I want to talk about 1975's Dog Day Afternoon, my absolute favorite movie from Sidney Lumet, one of my favorite directors of all time, my favorite 70s movie, maybe in my top 20 movies ever, definitely in my top 20 movies ever. I say this is underrated because it stars maybe my favorite Pacino. No, Heat's my favorite Pacino performance. But when you think of Pacino, I don't think many people are right away going to Dog Day Afternoon first. And I think it's a little bit overlooked for people who want to explore Pacino. They're thinking, your Godfathers, your Scarfaces, your Heat, Carlito's Way. And this movie just rocked my socks. And he is playing a bank robber, and him and his partner who are going through this are robbing a bank this is progressive at the time, 70s, robbing a bank to help his partner have a sex change. And the actual thrust of the movie, though, is obviously it's a bank robbery, goes wrong, and 90% of the movie takes place holed up inside the bank, holding everyone in there hostage and communicating with the police outside, with his partner, with family, his wife. And there's kind of a rising interest in the city around this robbery. People are crowding outside, and it's just there's just this bubbling up tension throughout the movie of what's going to happen. It's just, I love it. While it's not my favorite Pacino movie, it is probably my favorite Pacino performance. I mean, he's on one here. So Dog Day Afternoon, 1975, Sidney Lumet, check it out. All right, 80s. I'm going to try and speed this up a little bit because I'm not going through this that quickly. 1981, debut of Michael Mann, starring James Caan. A master safecracker longs for a normal life, but he gets pulled deeper into the criminal underworld for one last job. The classic One Last Job. I love Michael Mann, one of my favorite directors of all time. It's his debut. It's a stylish, slick, existentially cool movie that I don't think I've ever seen. This is going to sound weird to say. I don't think I've ever seen rain on streets at night look more enthralling in my entire life. The Tangerine Dream soundtrack is unbelievable, and you can see the roadmap that this movie laid for what Michael Mann is interested in, and also paving the way for Miami Vice that he went on to create. And just the vibe that Michael Mann can put in a movie, unlike anyone else. All right, next, I'm going to go 1985, To Live and Die in LA, coming back, William Friedkin. I just love this dude. Stars William Peterson and Willem Dafoe. Secret Service agent chases a brilliant counterfeiter through a morally murky LA. I love the backdrop of any movie set in LA. I'm here for. I just think, especially for a crime movie, it just works so well for me. Willem Dafoe is so young here. It's so disorienting to see. It's just weird to think about Willem Dafoe young, but still looks the same, still the same zany self. And I love, again, you can see I love a cat and mouse type of movie. And this is another great, great example. I think, man, you think about kind of like the classic, like shots from Mulholland Drive and the overlooking the valley, overlooking downtown LA. and that just sun and that golden hour. And this movie does that so well. It's a great movie. To Live and Die in LA. Check it out. I'm going to go. I mean, I think this is a cult classic now. So I think it has been revitalized and no longer considered underrated. But like most of John Carpenter's movies, this was a little bit of a failure at first. And that is Escape from New York, 1981. I love Snake Plissken. Movie is about, if you've never seen it, Manhattan is a prison island, and he is sent in. Kurt Russell is sent in to rescue the U.S. president inside this prison island that is Manhattan in a dystopian future. Unbelievable. I mean, this is just everything I love in an action movie. I love Kurt Russell, and it's gritty, it's minimalist, and I think it's just iconic in the filmography of Carpenter. Next, 48 Hours, 1982. The original, the OG buddy cop movie was invented here with Eddie Murphy, I mean, exploding onto the scene. Nick Nolte playing his counterpart, his buddy cop, directed by Walter Hill. Essentially a cop who's Nick Nolte and convict Eddie Murphy have 48 hours to catch a killer. This is a dirty, violent movie, but it is really fun to see the birth of a genre that now we all know and love in the buddy cop genre. And seeing Eddie before, you can kind of see the pathos or the ethos. I don't even know what those words mean now that I'm saying them, like what the difference is. No idea. But you can see the essence of Beverly Hills Cop right here in this movie. And yeah, check it out. Clue, 1985. This is absolutely a cult classic. Darkly comedic murder mystery based on the board game. We're going to cover this somehow. We're doing it. I don't know if Nick and I are going to play Clue, and then, I don't know how it's going to work, but we're covering this. This movie is so damn funny. I don't want to. There's multiple endings. I'll say that. The dialogue is just rapid fire, just humming along. It's campy, it's clever, it's full of suspects. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's good for the whole family. It's got Tim Curry. Who doesn't love Tim Curry? Where it's Clue. All these guests show up at a dinner party and they got to solve the murder in this classic whodunit. It's just unbelievable. I love Clue so much. I love the board game Clue too. 1985. Again, this is in the Criterion Collection. This is not an underrated movie, but I don't think many people are talking about this movie these days, and that is Jackie Chan's Police Story. Directed by Jackie Chan, starring Jackie Chan. A daring cop takes on a crime syndicate. And this is just, I mean, if you're wanting to go watch, like, what is the benchmark of martial arts cinema, this is it. I mean, unbelievable stunts, acrobatic fights. It's so raw for Jackie Chan. It's relentless. It's just unbelievable. I was such a big fan of Kung Fu and martial arts movies growing up, at the time when Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was coming out, and going back and watching Enter the Dragon. I just love that stuff. I was obsessed with Jackie Chan as a kid. This movie is excellent to go back to. All right, I'm going to try and speed this up. We're already at 17 minutes on just this question. 1990s, Bottle Rocket. Wes Anderson's first film. That's his debut. About a group of lovable misfits attempting small-time heists that have zero skill, absolutely zero skill, and those bandits are Owen and Luke Wilson. It's quirky, it's deadpan, and surprisingly sincere. True Romance. Written by Quentin Tarantino, directed by Tony Scott, a la Top Gun. Comic book nerd falls in love with a call girl, and they flee across the country with stolen drugs and are pursued by gangsters. It is that Tarantino dialogue mixed with Tony Scott's neon-soaked style. This movie is so underrated. It is one of the best, absolute best crime action movies of the 90s. Christian Slater, so much fun in this. Patricia Arquette, I love it. King of New York, my favorite Christopher Walken performance ever. He owns every scene. He is unbelievable as the kingpin Frank White, where he is a drug lord that returns from prison aiming to rebuild his empire and aiming to give back to his community. He sees himself as a Robin Hood, sparking a brutal war with cops and his rivals. What About Bob, 1991? Neurotic patient Bill Murray worms his way into his therapist's vacation, played by Richard Dreyfuss. They're perfectly mismatched. You get the feeling that Bill Murray was actually pissing Richard Dreyfuss off in this movie. I watched it the first time in the past year or two. This movie is unbelievable. It's so funny. Julie Haggerty from Airplane, or the mom in Just Friends, hilarious in this. I love this one. LA Confidential, as I mentioned, with Star Wars overshadowing Sorcerer, LA Confidential is overshadowed by Titanic. This movie's, man, I have so many crime movies on here. I think I've got to type. 3 very different LAPD officers unravel corruption and murder in 1950s Hollywood. It's hard not to use the same adjectives. This is slick. It's noir. Powerhouse performances from Kevin Spacey. And what's his name? The guy from Memento, Guy Pearce. Man, Guy Pearce should have had such a bigger career than he's really had. I'm really glad he came back in the Brutalist this year. LA Confidential, check it out. SLC Punk, a punk rocker in Salt Lake City, rebels against conformity, but adulthood starts to creep in. It's fast, it's funny. I love Matthew Lillard, and it's another one that's surprisingly sincere and heartfelt. 2000s. This is beloved by millennials, and that's A Knight's Tale. My first exposure to Heath Ledger. And it is about a peasant that fakes nobility to become a jousting champion. This is a sports comedy movie. If you consider this a sports movie, it's my favorite sports movie of all time. It has a rock soundtrack. It is endlessly rewatchable. And I think this is highly rated. And I'm just saying people are not rating this still high enough. This is a bona fide 5-star movie. That is unbelievable. 2003, The Rundown. One of The Rock's first movies that I remember in his branching out from WWE to acting. This is one of his best, directed by Peter Berg, also starring Sean William Scott. A bounty hunter, The Rock, must retrieve his boss's son from the Amazon. Things spiral into chaos. If you've seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. It is absolutely one of The Rock's best performances. A little bit of thunder, a little bit of lightning. I love this movie. Miami Vice, 2006, coming back to Michael Mann. I think this movie is so underrated. I think it's deeply disappointing the first time you watch it when you go in with these expectations of what a Miami Vice movie is going to be. And it is not at all that. It is not the neon green and yellow Miami of the 80s, your Vice City that you're thinking about. It is a modern, moody reimagining set in the 2000s. And I think Jamie Foxx and Colin Farrell are so good in this. And I think when you go return back to this movie, you start liking it more and more as you open up to the idea that this is not what you were expecting in terms of that vibe of the 80s, which I was so disappointed the first time I saw it. And it's turned into me to be a really underrated movie of the 2000s. Got 2 more for the 2000s, similar to The Knight's Tale. I think this is a very beloved movie, but I think it's also a 5-star masterpiece, and that is Shrek 2. And Shrek is love. Shrek is life. Shrek 1 is so good. Shrek 2, there's times I think is this the best movie ever made. It's unbelievable. Shrek meeting Fiona's parents, leading to magical potions and a fairy godmother showdown. Unbelievable set pieces here. Unbelievable music. It's everything. I mean, Shrek is just so good. I'm so pumped for Shrek 5. Shrek 2 is easily my favorite, with the original coming in right behind that. I also want to shout out Minority Report from 2002. Spielberg, starring Tom Cruise, Samantha Morton. A cop in a pre-crime unit is accused of a future murder and goes on the run to prove his innocence. This movie was so ahead of its time. When isn't Spielberg ahead of his time? And this is another one where it's a, credit to Spielberg, but if you're stacking up his movies, this is nowhere near probably the top 5 to 10 movies you're thinking about. If you're thinking about the 2000s, it's not the movies you're thinking about. And I think this movie is excellent. I think this is doing something that we just weren't even prepared for yet in 2002. Minority Report is so good. I love seeing Tom Cruise in non-Mission Impossible roles because he's been just doing that for so long now, which is a great segue into my final 2000s film, which is Mission Impossible 3. Philip Seymour Hoffman, lights out in this movie. He's a terrifying villain. And I just love me some Mission Impossible. I love the stunts. I love Tom Cruise. Mission Impossible 3 is goated in my mind. 2010s. I'm going to throw out a documentary out here, Searching for Sugar Man. Two fans trace the story of a forgotten musician whose work unknowingly inspired a generation of in South Africa. This is a true story where Rodriguez, a Detroit musician, dies, lights himself on fire on stage because he was lacking success, not getting where he wanted to be. And unbeknownst to him, all this time he was unbelievably popular in South Africa and one of the best selling artists there. Amazing movie, 2012, Searching for Sugar Man. Goon, gonna throw it out there. One of my favorite sports movies of all time. I love Sean William Scott. Sweet but tough guy becomes an unlikely hockey enforcer in this pretty, once again, touching sports comedy. I think this movie is so funny, and I think it's endlessly rewatchable too. Similar to, like what I said with The Knight's Tale. Goon. I love hockey. I love a hockey movie, and Goon is way up there for me. The Trip, 2010, directed by Michael Winterbottom, stars Steve Coogan, Rob Brydon. You probably know this movie from clips of them doing impressions of James Bond, Sean Connery, of Michael Caine. Nothing happens in this movie. There's no plot. It is two actors traveling across England sampling food and trading impressions. And it's kind of just a road comedy. And this movie, for some reason, hits me so deep. Just the friendship that you're like wondering, is this real between Coogan and Brydon? And they've made multiple movies of The Trip. I love them all. I love this one so much. The impressions are hilarious. The We Ride at Dawn scene it puts me in stitches every time. 2017, The Death of Stalin. This is the one that I was referencing in the Dr. Strangelove conversation. Stalin's death sparks a power struggle among his cronies in this absurd political satire. Amazing cast. Steve Buscemi, Jeffrey Tambor, Simon Russell Beale. This movie, it had me in stitches. Maybe it was because I watched it during the pandemic and I was losing my mind. I think if you like Dr. Strangelove and go back to that, this is the perfect double feature. Watch them back to back. So good. My final one for the 2010s, Secret Life of Walter Mitty, directed by Ben Stiller. I don't know if the Cable Guy, I think, was his first movie he directed. But stars him, Kristen Wiig, a daydreamer working for Life magazine, embarks on a real-life adventure across the globe to find the lost photo negative before the magazine shuts down. This movie just makes me want to do things in my life, and it makes me feel good, and it makes me feel happy, and it makes me feel inspired. And the soundtrack kicks ass. We got some Bowie of Monsters and Men. The locations are jaw-dropping. Sean Penn, an absolute heat check of a performance here as the photographer who took the negative. And man, it just makes you think about, you can't just spend your whole life dreaming about what you want to do. You got to get out there and do it. And I love this movie so much. All right. All right, this is going so long. 2020s, then we're going to stop here. 2022, going back to Spielberg, The Fabelmans. I felt like this movie was so overlooked and so underappreciated. It is a loose adaptation of Spielberg's life about a young boy who discovers a love for filmmaking amid his family's unraveling. And it just tells you it gives you so much insight into every movie Spielberg has made, I feel. And it's so deeply personal to his life that it's almost uncomfortable of what you see in this. Michelle Williams she's on another level in this movie. It's just so sentimental, but never to the point of cringe. And if you like Spielberg, I feel like this is a must-watch movie. 2024, last year, Snack Shack. This gave me the feeling of watching comedies in the 90s and the 2000s. I've not seen a comedy movie like this that has such believable friends being absolutely ridiculous together. And it just made me smile and grin and potentially cry. But it's about two teens who launch a snack shack in 1990s Nebraska, navigating friendship, ambition, and the summer antics. 2022, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I first watched this on an airplane and was awkwardly laughing so loud watching this movie starring Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal, where Nick Cage plays himself and he's caught between fandom and espionage in this meta action comedy. This movie cracks me up. I love Nick Cage, and I love the homage to his life and career. All right, final one, and then I'm going to cut it off here with the 2020s. 2024 is also Strange Darling, directed by J.T. Molnar, starring Willa Fitzgerald and Kyle Gallner. This is a brutal, okay, I don't want to spoil this movie. It is once again, a cat and mouse serial killer movie about a woman and a killer locked into this sort of deadly game with each other. And man, this movie is bloody. It's twisty and turny. And I don't want to say any more. You should just go watch it. Just fire it up. Don't read anything about it. Just go check it out. Strange Darling 2024. I think it's I just love when it feels like a director has just like such a specific vision and style they're going for and then just delivers on that completely. Okay. Oh, sorry. One more. 2023, The Taste of Things. I think I saw you like this on Letterboxd, The Pinoy Wonder. So I know you've already seen this, but if you like food and you don't mind watching things about food for 2 hours, you should go watch this movie. It is about a 19th century French chef and his muse sharing a tender romance shaped by their culinary creations. And this movie's unbelievable. And it makes me want to eat, and it makes me want to cook, and it makes me want to live life and spend time with my fiance. It's just a great movie. I love The Taste of Things so much. And I feel like it was really, really overlooked in the past. I think it technically came out in 23, but it was really a 24 movie. But I think it's one of the most overlooked movies last year. I'm going to stop it there. Thank you for that question. That was so much fun to go through. Unbuckled. Logan wrote in. You can check out our episode with him on Casino Royale and said, has podcasting changed the dynamic of you and Nick's friendship? I thought I knew how much Nick annoyed me, but this has taken it to new heights. It's like when you have a roommate and they just start to do things and you notice them and it just bothers you. It's kind of like that. So it's been really for the worse. But no, honestly, it has brought us so much closer together. It's great to have a friend just constantly and consistently in my life. I mean, we don't live close to each other. And this is just such a natural way for us to hang out and talk to each other. And it's awesome. It is the best thing to happen to our friendship since the Attitude Era of WWF. I mean, just unbelievable. I've really enjoyed doing this with Nick. And, I hope he doesn't listen to this and hear that. Follow up from Unbuckled is, I'm just going to say off the top here, Logan had a second child recently. It feels recently, but it actually wasn't that recent. Your dad levels are off the charts with this question. That I mean, let me just get into it. He says, "What is a book?" I'm gonna have to paraphrase because this is long. What is a book, movie, show, game you feel everyone should read, watch, play? And then he lists some examples or his suggestions that if you were to chat GPT most dad response ever, this is it. I mean, if this was the dad Olympics, Logan is Usain Bolt just running past me and mocking me at the moment. I can't believe these answers. They're incredible. I love it. This is great. He says, book 1776 by David McCullough, an in-depth look at the year America gained its independence and some of the incredible feats accomplished in some of the worst conditions. I'm going to stop at each one and give mine. One, I mean, that's the most dad book I've ever heard in my entire life. I had to read a David McCullough book in college on Harry Truman. I got to be honest, I didn't love it. It was like interesting. I got halfway. It's just dense. And I mean, that's just a lot, man. I don't know the size of 1776. I'd be interested. I like history a lot. But man, David McCullough might be the most dad author of all time. And I don't even know what if you have a third child, I can't even imagine the daddery you will ascend to. I love this so much. Movie. He's on another one. Miracle on Ice. Really just Miracle for the movie title. Single greatest American sports moment, beautifully recreated for all to enjoy. I think Nick and I both threw this movie so much love when we were doing, I think, Moneyball and The Iron Claw. Miracle is an incredible sports movie. It is one of my favorite sports movies. I just love the fact that if someone asks you, what is one movie you feel everyone should watch? I just love that you're saying Miracle. Like that is amazing. Just no hesitation. You should watch this hockey movie about America beating the Russia. Like that's just unbelievable stuff. and I love it. I, I don't think it is top 3 sports movie. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it is way up there. If I were to say movie, okay, this is tough because like, am I assuming? Oh wait, I didn't give my book answer. Let me back up here. I don't really believe in slogging through like the classics or something you feel you should read. I think this is such a boring, I think the single most important book anyone can read in their life is the book that makes you love reading and opens up your world to this being a hobby of yours. That's not an answer. For me, that was Harry Potter. I mean, I would recommend that everyone read that. It is such an easy read. It's such a quick read. It's such a fun read. And it, I feel like gives you that catnip feeling of like, there are books out there that I can just zip through and that I can't put down. And like getting to experience that, I think is one of the most important things a human can do is like reading of stories. And for me, that's it. I mean, if I were to give a Mr. Fancy Pants book reader opinion, I'd say maybe Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, a really great book by a guy who survived the Holocaust. Maybe Orwell's 1984. I do think that is a really amazing book, always timeless. Or, if you're already a reader and you want to read a classic, I think you got to read The Count of Monte Cristo. It outside of the Harry Potter series, it's my favorite book of all time. I think it's unbelievably intoxicating, and I love that book so much. And I think if you enjoy reading and you want to get into something a little meaty, I think that's the one to tackle. All right, back to the movies. Movies is tough because, like, am I assuming one movie everyone should watch? Am I assuming you've never, like, an alien comes to Earth and is like, here's a movie, let's show them that? Or am I assuming you've watched some movies and this is a movie you should watch? It's tough. Like, if I were to say, like, what is a movie every average movie watcher should watch? I mean, I would return to maybe Lumet and say 12 Angry Men. I think it's great to show people that like movies that are 70 years old at this point can completely hold up, and the magic of filmmaking is pervasive across any decade. If you're an alien who has never seen movies and someone comes to Earth and is like, show me a movie, bleep bloop. I mean, this is a boring answer, but I know they're coming from outer space, but I'd say Star Wars. Like, it is, I think it's the epitome of what a movie is. It's everything. It's the soundtrack, it's the visuals, it's the story, it's the lore, it's the character. It's got everything. Everything. I mean, it changed. It is the most important movie in Hollywood cinema history. It changed everything. It changed the game. Nothing was the same after this. I mean, you could maybe argue Jaws did that, but Star Wars, I mean, we in the IP era we are in, and the content, a la Super Dave's question, I mean, that is all, for better or for worse, that all came from Star Wars. And I just think it contains something that everyone can find. It's not going to be everybody's favorite movie. Some people aren't going to jive with it. But I think everybody could watch Star Wars and be like, yeah, that was pretty good. I enjoyed that. If you want a highbrow take of like movies that have the intention of conveying something important and taking themselves like kind of seriously, and like this is like an important film to watch, I'd say maybe 12 Years a Slave or The Pianist. Pianist was made by Roman Polanski, which is problematic, but I watched that movie and I don't think I've ever been the same. I mean, that movie messed me up. And I think reckoning with some of the horrors of what has gone on in the world is an important thing to do from time to time. And both those movies do that on such a way that changed me forever after watching them. So those will be the two I recommend. All right, what do we got here next? You said show. He said, oh my God, I don't know if this is more dad than David McCullough, but this is pretty dad. Band of Brothers, The Pacific. I count this as one because it's made by the same people and about the same war. There are tough moments in each show, but everyone needs to understand what the men and women went through during this time. Band of Brothers is fantastic. I mean, it totally changed my perspective of David Schwimmer. Like, wow, what a performance by that guy. Spielberg returning again with Band of Brothers, Tom Hanks. Band of Brothers is really great. I mean, the concentration camp scene in Band of Brothers what I just talked about, the penis, is something that has stuck with me the rest of my life. I don't know if I'll ever return to Band of Brothers. I might if, maybe a 4K collection comes out and I pick it up. It is a great show to watch. If I'm thinking about like what epitomizes television, and everyone should watch, I mean, I think the two game changers in television are Sopranos or Lost. I tend to love shows that have an ending that is extremely polarizing. Both those have that. I absolutely adore both. Lost. I mean, Game of Thrones is probably still my favorite show of all time, just because of the absolute highs that reached. But Lost is a close second. Sopranos is absolutely up there. And they both just changed the game for what television is. Nothing was ever the same after Tony Soprano and after the weekly mystery of Lost. Nothing ever was ever the same again. The budgets those guys, it's unbelievable what they did. If you wanted just a single season of something that's going to rock your world, I'd say True Detective Season 1 or Mare of Easttown. Both are absolutely fantastic, and our lights out blow me away every time. Next question. Thank you for writing in, Logan. Thanks for being the resident dad. Those were just unbelievable takes, and I have so much love and joy for what you just gave me there. Storm Beagle, Sam, the Retrotopia podcast, wrote in and said, "Are you a rereader of books, or are you pretty one and done?" Sam, I'm a huge rereader. I'm a huge re-experiencer of content. I love going back to the well. It brings me so much joy, and is honestly one of my favorite things in the world to do. And I know I should be spending that time consuming new content, but I love returning to things that I love. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I've read Harry Potter an insane amount of times. I've read Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit multiple times. I've watched those movies an insane amount of time. My parents used to get so annoyed with me as a kid because I could just run it back on those few movies that I love. So I'm a big rereader. I'm not as much right now because of the pace we got to keep up with on the show of consuming content. But I love going back to things, and I love experiencing it another time and seeing the new things I picked up, what I missed. And I feel like you just approach it in a whole new way, and I love it. So I'm a big reconsumer. Point Pinoy Wonder came back with another one. He says, normally your podcast consists of books and movies, but have you considered doing comic books and movies and the movies they are inspired from? I would love to do this mainly as an excuse to do The Dark Knight. I would love to talk about that on the show. I am a little scared to do a lot of comics because I don't want to speak for Nick, but we both did not grow up as comic book readers. And it feels like talking about something that I don't have a ton of background or experience in. And comic fans are very passionate, and I just worry that I'm not going to do it justice, especially because like a lot of times comic book movies, I love and have a great time with them, but I don't dissect it the same way I do other types of content. It's typically kind of like my shut off my brain and have a great time at the movie type of movie. And I mean that with no ill intention, because one of the most enjoyable experiences of my life is sitting back with some popcorn and watching like an action movie. Like I adore that. I think we will do it at some point. There are some things I'd love to maybe talk about. The Boys. Like I said, I'd love to do The Dark Knight. I'd love to maybe hit some aspect of the MCU and maybe return to when it, was really coming up with an Iron Man. I mean, I absolutely adore Spider-Man. I love to have any excuse to talk about the Tobey Maguire ones. Maybe when the Spider-Verse stuff comes out, we could do that. There's a lot of potential there in the comic world. Another one, I know that they made John Wick comics. So there's a lot there that I'd love to explore. I just haven't really done it yet. Logan actually had a follow-up question to that, asking that I've started reading more comics lately. Which has been your favorite? That's tough because I've not been able to get through a ton with the reading schedule we've had lately, but I really did enjoy. I mean, obvious answer is The Last Ronin, the Ninja Turtles one that I read because of you. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable comic. As a kid who grew up with the Ninja Turtles, just gave me all the warm fuzzies and made me feel so many things. Batman Year One, I really enjoyed that. I'm really excited to get into some more Batman. The Long Halloween is something I'm excited to check out, but yeah. Other than that, I don't have too much to give there. I've picked up a few more from pre-comic book day, so we'll see how that goes. Next question coming in from Blaine, host of the Retro Riders podcast. He says, I'm going to go outside of the box on a play question. What were your favorite toys or action figures that you played with growing up? I had I have three things come to mind instantly. I mean, Batman Forever changed my life as a child and is one of the movies I watched the most in my life. I don't care what anyone says. Don't care about your highbrow comic opinion. I love Batman Forever. I love it so much. And the toy that was the bat wing, where the wings like snapped off so it could be the underwater thing too. Oh my god, that was one of the highlights of my childhood, was getting that Batwing toy, released I'm pretty sure in 1995. I mean, I had that Batmobile too from that movie that shot it wasn't like a bullet, but shot something out of the front of it. I don't even know what it was. Absolutely love that one. The other one that came to mind, toy, is that red Jeep that every kid had in the 90s. I used to reenact Crocodile Dundee, all-timer movie for me, in my backyard growing up. Tree swinging. I would drive around that Jeep like I was in the outback. My backyard was the outback, and I'd be lighting little brush fires, not real fires. I don't think I had that type of skill yet. But man, that Jeep gave me so much joy and so many imaginary, just like memories, like playing as a kid. Absolutely loved it. And I said, three. Mid 90s, I was a WCW kid before WWF. When I moved to school where I met Nick, realized everyone there was WWF kids. But before that, I was a WCW kid. And I got a Sting, one of those Sting little wrestling buddy dolls. That was absolute highlight of my life, was just fighting for the belt in my bedroom against little Sting. Incredible stuff. Those three are the instantly spring to mind. I actually still have, I mean, when you talk action figures, I still have all my, they're at my parents' house, all my Batman action figures. I had tons of those. I was a huge, every time I remember we would go into Walmart, beeline for the action figure section. Great question, Blaine. Next one I got this is coming from Brian, also from the Retrotopia podcast. With the amount of game to movie adaptations coming out as of late, what is your thoughts on this? Personally, I don't think a movie can capture the depth of storytelling that a video game allows. And if a story is made to be interactive, it's almost an insult to make it a movie. Even the 10-episode series style is skirting the line. However, shows like Fallout and The Last of Us have shown, if done right, it can preserve the story and bring it to a new audience. What would be your criteria to ensure that a series stays faithful to the lore without diluting the story? Whew, man. All right. The tough thing here is, no matter what we do, we're never getting off the adaptation train. I mean, one, it's good for our podcast, but two, it's just the way content works. Like, they're just going to keep pumping out more and more and more. And we are only at the precipice of what we're going to see in the video game world. I agree that it's really hard to do it in a movie form. I mean, the track record of video game to movie is just appallingly awful. But it's not going to change. So there's a part of me that is like, okay, I don't want to just accept it, but I've made peace with it in some ways, that it's just going to happen. And I'm also an optimist, man. I go into everything expecting I'm going to love it. And if it lets me down, it lets me down. With the exception of Argyle, which I just knew I was going to absolutely hate that movie after reading the book. Well, actually, I thought it was like, there's no way it could be worse. But it's tough. I mean, I agree. I think video games are a little more suited. I mean, I think just the structures of the stories are a little more suited to TV, and there's been absolutely much more success there. So you asked the criteria. I have three things. My first thing, I mean, when I'm thinking specifically video game adaptation to big screen or to small screen, TV or movie, I think what is number one is, when possible, include the creators. It's like, you'd think it would be step one no matter what, but historically with movies, it has not been the case. And that, I think that's just a way to build trust with your audience from the start, is to know that this has some sign off from the people who made this world, and they should have probably a pretty good grasp of what their audience wants. So that's an easy first win. The second is, especially when it comes to a movie, and I mean, I feel even this way with TV, is I prefer a more narrow and specific story that shines light on a part of maybe a world I've experienced in a video game. I often don't need a beat for beat recreation of what I played. I have that story. I can play that game. Am I still going to watch it and enjoy it when it comes to like The Last of Us season 1? Yeah, absolutely. But what really gets me going is when they take time to explore parts of the story that we didn't get a chance to in the game, or that's hard to in the game because you're always usually controlling and in the POV of whoever the protagonist is. So when it comes to, The Last of Us, I am, especially season 2, I'm itching to see more of Isaac. And if you told me that instead of doing a series on The Last of Us, they were doing a 4-episode miniseries on the WLF and Isaac, I'd be so pumped for that because we just did not have the time to explore that in the game. And I feel like there's a much better chance of success if you don't try and eat the whole elephant when it comes to the adaptation, because, like you said, you're spreading a little too much, or sorry, too little butter over too much toast here, and it's just hard, and things are going to get watered down. And is it going to leave anyone satisfied? I mean, I think the issue movies ran into in the past with adapting video games is they tried to broaden this appeal outside of the video game audience. And man, so often when you do that, you just come out with this milk toast product that doesn't really please the original fans. It's not good. So, and your average moviegoer has no interest in spending time watching this, Prince of Persia movie. So I feel pretty strongly that when a creator, or sorry, when a person adapting this, when a director or a writer, whoever it is, or a studio has a more specific vision and part of a game they want to explore and focus on that, I feel like there's a much greater chance of success than trying to tackle the entire experience that someone may have had in a game. And I think that will, one, pique the interest of video game players because they get to experience new parts of this world that they love. And two, hopefully it leads to a better product that general audiences enjoy. I think we just got to stop with these like huge writers' rooms. I mean, and let's be honest, I know nothing about movie making. I've never been involved in this in my life, but I think just like trying to make things as broad of an appeal as possible, I think it just leads to a poor product, and it's never going to attract people to a video game movie. I think it sounds so stupid and trite, but like, focus on making something good first. And if it is an enjoyable standalone piece of art, that will bring in fans and that will get people to come out to this. And if you do that along with getting input from the creators, you got 2 wins there. My final thing would just be, I feel like you just got to get the details right, man. Like, I don't really care very often if an adaptation is telling a different version of the story that I'm used to or making big changes, but like, stop changing inconsequential shit. Like, that feels like you're just changing things for changing's sake. Like, that's just the quickest way to like boil the blood of us nerds out there. And it's just not needed. Like, it doesn't matter. And, Harry Potter's not a good example, but things like changing the house colors of Ravenclaw, it's like, why? Like, it's just things like that like can bother me with adaptations, where it's like, it feels like a death by 1,000 blows, where you just do these little things that goad an audience that you just didn't even have to make to begin with. And it's like, why are we even doing this? So if I were to sum it up, include the creator, have a more specific vision and tell a smaller, more focused story instead of trying to eat the whole elephant with the adaptation. And 3, just get the details right. Make this feel like the world I know. And I'll be excited to experience that in a new medium if this feels and resonates the same way I did playing the game. I have hope. I'm an optimist. I go into everything thinking I'm going to love this. And that bites me in the ass sometimes. But, I try and hope that we're on a good path with some of these adaptations. And it just doesn't pay me to be negative about it. serves me nothing. So I try and have hope, even though the track record is so abysmally poor when it comes to the video adaptation world. Thanks for the question, Brian. I'm realizing with Logan's where he said, what is something that you feel everyone should rewatch play? I didn't do the play one, so I'm going to quick go game. He said, I'll go unconventional here. Celeste, it's super easy to pick up, gets tough, but the beauty is in the failures and how it relates to the most heartfelt story in a video game. That is a really great game. I love Celeste. Man, that is a hard game. It is really hard. I was losing my mind at points of that. But it is truly elite. If I had to tell a game that everyone should play, I actually was thinking about Portal. Portal is really easy to pick up and play and has very fun video game, maybe some of the best ever video game mechanics, and tells a really cool story with one of the greatest villains ever in gaming history. I think Portal is like a must play for gamers, and for people who don't even play video games. I think you can pick up and play Portal and realize like what video games can do. Throw out a few others. Rayman Legends. I think this is a little bit of an underrated. I think Rayman Legends is maybe the best platformer ever made. I absolutely love this game. It is so much fun to play co-op. Obviously, Uncharted 2. I think everybody should play Uncharted 2. It's my favorite video game of all time, and shows you how video games can tell a really amazing story and create characters that you love and care about, and do that in a pretty short fashion. You're in and you're out with Uncharted games. Also, I think everyone in their life should experience Mario Party and hating their friends when they steal stars from them. I think Mario Party is a must do thing in life. So I forgot that last bit of your question. All right. Only a few more here. Captain Alcatraz, Alan, from the Retrotopia pod says, so now that you've completed the greatest trilogy in video games, Mass Effect, true words have never been spoken, it is the greatest trilogy in gaming. How long before I can tempt you with some of the rather excellent books of the franchise? I'll take them right now. I am in such a deep state of mourning finishing this series that I would love to get into this. So Alan, please send them my way. His real question here. Rewatch play is itself being adapted. So who plays you guys in the movie? Who directs it? Who's writing the tie-in novel? And what studio is developing the video game? I need a drink of water before this one. Hold on. All right. Wishful thinking. Who's playing us? The obvious answer would be George Clooney and Brad Pitt. George playing Nick, Brad playing me. The unfortunate aspect of this is we are nowhere near as good looking as those men, lacking we have none of that charisma. It's just never going to happen. It's a dream, but it's never going to happen. I think more realistic casting for us would be Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci, a la Home Alone. That's much more our actual vibes and friendship. And man, I could definitely see Nick hitting me with a crowbar and screaming at him. So I think I'm going to cast Daniel Stern as Nick and Joe Pesci as myself. Director, just to spite Nick, I'm going to say Stanley Kubrick and make him take direction from him. If I'm giving a living director, I'll go Edgar Wright. I think, that Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead energy dynamic, I think could work really well for Nick and I. Tie-in novel, obviously Stephanie Meyer from Twilight is writing the tie-in novel. Studio, obviously gun to my head, I would love to work with Naughty Dog. They make some of my favorite games ever. But if I'm going with childhood dreams, I'm going maybe Sega games. Just working with Sega would be a dream of my life. Rockstar is appealing just for the soundtrack side of things. So I'll maybe go Sega. I think I'm going to stay there. Next question I got is from Gooday. Wrote and said, you just saw Shawshank Redemption for the first time. So what are the 3 shockingly missing pieces you still need to read, watch, play? I've not read a lot of classics, actually. So I feel like I could use reading something maybe like The Catcher in the Rye, Huck Finn, Catch-22. I've not read any of those. I read like The Great Gatsby, The Odyssey, things like that. But I've not read a lot of classics. I got a lot to catch up on there. I've always read just what I want to read, which was never those things. Watch, a huge, huge gap in my movie knowledge history is Lawrence of Arabia. Never seen Lawrence of Arabia. I've had my eye on picking up the 4K, which I hear is incredible. So that's going to happen soon. I would love to experience this one. I've just never seen it. Never happened. It's like one of those movies you get nervous about. Like, can it live up to what the expectations are? But I've never seen Lawrence of Arabia. Play, there's a ton. But I'd say the Switch Zelda games are a huge missing piece for me. I've never played Breath of the Wild. And also a lot of the big Microsoft franchises, Halo or Gears of War. I've never played either. I'd say the biggest thing that I'm like, I need to play this is a Zelda Breath of the Wild. So that's up there. Thanks for writing in. Good day. We had another follow-up question from Logan. He said, what is your guilty pleasure movie? Mine is Pitch Perfect. I'm not proud. The first one only. Still not proud, though. I know we've talked about we eschew the moniker of guilty pleasures. Like what you like. Pitch Perfect is an incredible movie, Logan. I absolutely love that one. Great shout. I'm going to rat off a few. Miss Congeniality. Unbelievable Sandra Bullock performance. Princess Diaries. My younger sister watches this all the time, and I absolutely love Princess Diaries. I'm not ashamed. I'll watch this alone. I love this movie so much. Scooby-Doo live action. Unbelievable movie. Love Actually. Star Wars prequels. Don't care what you say. I love them all. Batman Forever. Like I said, I'll take that over 80% of Batman content out there in the world. I will watch Batman Forever. And any Bond movie. Bond movies are pizza to me. With the exception of Papa John's, I love them all. So that's my guilty pleasures rundown. All right, just two more. Whew. If you had an afternoon alone, this is coming in from Pickle. If you had an afternoon alone to spend with any famous author, living or dead, who would it be? What would you do or talk about? Why is it Tolkien? I was a little angry, and I told him, because you can't give my answer in your question, which probably, man, Lord of the Rings means so much to me, and those movies mean so much to me, and getting to talk to the man who inspired everything we know about fantasy. I mean, that would be just to go. If I were to like choose, I would love to. I mean, I love coffee, obviously. I would just love to sit down and have a coffee. He'd probably have tea and just talk to him about, maybe modern day, and just see what he thinks of what all he has done and inspired in this world. Or actually, no, I'm going to change my answer. I would love to go to a marathon screening of the Lord of the Rings movies with Tolkien and sit there. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to have much conversation. Maybe we get dinner after, I can wine and dine him. That is up there. I'd maybe have a beer with George R.R. Martin just to, I don't mean to be one of those annoying fans, but just ask him where the hell is the Winds of Winter? Or at least just tell me. Just sit here and just tell me what happens. Another one is, I would probably say our guy, Alexandre Dumas. I'd love to talk to this guy. As I said, The Count of Monte Cristo is my favorite book ever. He also did The Three Musketeers. I feel like he'd be a really interesting author to talk to, but he wouldn't be it would have to be Tolkien, just for the world he created and everything he inspired. It has to be him. George R.R. Martin is a solid number 2, though. In my life, I've been so deep in the A Song of Ice and Fire world. I've pulled myself out pretty heavily over the past couple of years, but I still have so much that I would love to talk to him about. Yeah, that's those two are really up there. Final one, Pinoy Wonder is coming back with, where's your go-to place to get cheesesteaks? Unfortunately, these days, we don't have great ones in Florida, but growing up in the Philly area, number one, for sure, the best cheesesteak, I think it's a little oversaturated these days, but growing up, you always said D'Alessandro's had the best cheesesteak. That was a classic answer. They do make a really great cheesesteak. But really, in my neighborhood, growing up, I was going to Lee's Hoagie House. They had fantastic waffle fries to boot, but their hoagie and their cheesesteak, I thought, were lights out. Really good local stuff. So I'm a big fan of those, but D'Alessandro's is a really good one. I don't really get into the whole Pat's Geno's thing. Both of them they're good, but there's just better out there, I think. It's not worth that line. It's not worth the chaos. So yeah, those are the two I would go. Those are all my questions that we had written in. I'm going to just quick breeze through to just make sure I did not miss any. I think I got them all. Thank you so much for writing in. Yeah, hopefully Nick feels better. We're going to get these next couple episodes out pretty soon. But thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Look for The Last of Us. Look for Goodfellas and Mafia May coming up. I'm super excited to talk about those. Take it easy.